Life of Swami Vivekananda in America. My name is Paramita Chakraborty. I will be your narrator. In the role of Swami Vivekananda will be Dr. Ashim Mitro. In the role of disciple will be Aniruddha Bhumi. In the role of Mrs. Hay and Mrs. Catherine Abbott Sangam will be Anisha Rai. In the role of Professor Wright will be Shayan Chakraborty. Shayan Chakraborty will also do the audiovisuals. And Mrs. Shati Sharma will be singing devotional songs of Swami Vivekananda that are relevant to the team tonight. Our script writer was Mrs. Chaitali Rai. We shall begin our program now. Throughout the ages, great personalities have landed on the shore of this new continent and left their footprints behind. Some of them influenced art and literature, some science and education. However, Swami Vivekananda touched the very soul of the American people. He charmed audiences with his magical oratory and left an indelible mark on America's spiritual development. The story of his journey to North America has been told many times in many different ways. It is the story of a destitute, unknown monk from an unrecognized organization representing an impoverished nation. To understand and appreciate it fully, we have to retrace our steps back in time. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Dev passed away in the summer of 1886. It was a difficult time for his disciples. Vivekananda felt the intense agony of separation from his master.
Naren, what we do now? How are we going to survive?
When the human mind is overwhelmed with sorrow and despair, when the world seems like an impenetrable sheet of misery, it is then that our internal eye opens. We come face to face with the greatest misery of nature, existence. Thakur has already shown us the way. We will follow his instructions. We will form a new monastic brotherhood.
Tumhari puriya ji, jivan
With 15 other disciples, he moved to a dilapidated house in Boranovo from Kashipur and took the vow of sannyas. Later, he reminisced about the early days.
We underwent a lot of religious practices at the Baranagar Mart. We used to get up at 3 a.m. and become absorbed in meditation. When a strong spirit of detachment we had in those days. We had no thought even as to whether the world existed or not.
He wanted to lose himself in silent meditation, but the mundane duties of life brought him back. He realized that he was not meant to live the life of a recluse struggling for personal salvation. He heard the inner call for a greater mission as envisioned by his master.
What my master had taught me is not for self-enhancement. It is for a greater purpose in life. I must devote my life for the good of the world, and not until it is accomplished will I return.
Swamiji embarked on a long journey to explore and discover India. He traveled from the Himalayas to Kanyakumari as a Parivrajak. During his travel, Swami Vivekananda was deeply moved to see the appalling poverty of the masses. He was the first religious leader in India to understand and openly declare that the real cause of India's downfall was the neglect of the masses.
Owing to the centuries of oppression, the common people of India have lost faith in themselves. Religion is a mixture of superstition and ritual. Women are oppressed, so are the members of the lower caste. The people of India need two kinds of knowledge: secular knowledge to improve economic conditions, and spiritual knowledge to infuse in them the faith in themselves. The question is, how to spread these two kinds of knowledge? Only through education.
During the course of his wanderings, he heard about the World's Parliament of Religion to be held in Chicago. His friends and admirers wanted him to attend the parliament. In the last lap of his pilgrimage across India, he came to Kanyakumari. He swam through the shark-infested water to what is now called the Vivekananda rock. As he sat on the rock, he meditated deeply on India, her past, present, and future. After 3 days of meditation, he took the momentous decision to go to the West to raise money for the upliftment of India. He also had a vision. He saw Sri Ramakrishna walking into the ocean and beckoning for him to follow. Earlier, he had written a letter to Sharada Devi asking for her blessings. At last, he received a response.
Divine Mother has given me her blessing. I am ready now.
He asked his followers to collect money for the journey.
We will go begging from door to door to collect alms from common ordinary man. Swamiji wants us to do that and will abide by his wishes.
He was also helped by the Maharaja of Mysore, the Raja of Ramnar, and the Raja of Khetri. On 31st May 1893, he sailed for America from Mumbai, Bombay then, via Colombo, Tokyo and Vancouver. On the train from Vancouver to Chicago, he encountered Miss Catherine Abbott Sanborn. Miss Sanborn was very much impressed by Swamiji's personality and appearance. She gave him her card and invited him to be a guest in her house in Massachusetts. Swami Vivekananda arrived in Chicago on 30th of July, 1893. After his arrival, he learned that the Parliament of Religion was to be held a couple of months later, in September. He also did not have the necessary paperwork, including a letter of introduction that was needed to register for the event. Not just that, the date for registration had also already expired. There was therefore no chance that Swamiji could be allowed to speak at the event. Not only that, after just a few days in Chicago, Swami Vivekananda realized that he was running out of money. He then remembered that a lady by the name Catherine Abbott Sanborn had offered him help should he need any. She lived in Boston, Massachusetts. Swami Vivekananda decided to leave Chicago for Boston for Miss Sanborn's house. Swami Vivekananda's acquaintance with Miss Catherine Abbott Sanborn was instrumental in his entry to the Parliament of Religions. On August 1893, Vivekananda reached Boston. Sanborn wrote in her memoirs,
I received a telegram announcing that my reverend friend on the train was in Boston and awaiting my orders. Then I remembered vividly. I had urged him to accept my hospitality. I had promised him introductions to Harvard professors, New York capitalists, women of fame, position, and needs. I was aghast, but telegraphed bravely. Yours received, come today, 4:20 train, New York Albany.
Catherine Abbott Sanborn was a poet, teacher, lecturer, but above all, a humanist. She was not only his hostess in those early days, she was also instrumental in introducing him to Professor Wright and other men and women of influence. Professor J.H. Wright, a professor of Greek at Harvard University, encouraged Swami Vivekananda to introduce Hinduism in the Parliament of Religions. When Swamiji announced,
I have no credentials.
The professor replied,
To ask you, Swami, for your credentials, it is like asking the sun about its going to shine. It's not.
He wrote about Swamiji to a number of important people connected with the Parliament, especially to the chairman of the committee, who was also one of his friends.
Here is a man more learned than all of our learned professors put together.
Professor Wright not only gave Swamiji a letter of introduction, he also bought his tickets to Chicago. Swami Vivekananda returned to Chicago on 9th of September. To his dismay, he found that he had lost the letter of introduction and the address of the committee. Tired and hungry, he spent the night in an empty boxcar. Next morning, forgetting that he was in a foreign country, he went begging for food, as was the century-old tradition of the Hindu monks. People saw his rumpled clothes, travel-worn appearance, and slammed their doors in his face. Exhausted and resigning himself to the will of the Almighty, he sat down on the roadside curb.
starvation, cold, putting in the streets on account of my quaint dress. These are what I have to fight against. But no great things were ever done without great labor. I have faith in the Lord. He will do the rest.
Mrs. Hale, an influential lady living in the opposite house, saw him and asked,
Sir, are you a delegate to the Parliament of Religion?
Swamiji, childlike as always, poured out all his troubles.
I have lost everything in the train. I have no credentials, and I don't know where to go. I am tired and totally lost.
Mrs. Hale invited him in her house, gave him hot breakfast, and saw to his immediate needs. Later, she took him to the office of the Parliament of Religion and introduced him to Dr. Barrows, the President of the Parliament. Swamiji never forgot the kindness and courtesy of Mrs. Hale. He became a part of their family until his death in 1902. The Parliament of Religion was an adjunct to the World Columbian Exposition, which was held in Chicago in 1893 to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. The first session of the Parliament was held on Monday, September 11, in the spacious hall of the Art Institute. It opened with a prayer, after which the delegates were introduced one by one. They read their prepared speeches. Swami Vivekananda had not prepared a speech for the occasion, and he had never addressed a public gathering before. He kept postponing the speech. In the afternoon, when he could no longer put it off, he stood up, inwardly bowed down to Devi Saraswati, and began to speak.
Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable to rise in response to the warm and cordial welcome which you have given us. I thank you in the name of the most ancient order of monks in the world. I thank you in the name of the Mother of Religions. And I thank you in the name of the millions and millions of Hindu people of all classes and sects. My thanks also to some of the speakers on this platform who, referring to the delegate from the Orient, have told you that these men from far-off nations may well claim the honor of bearing to different lands the idea of tolerance. I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal toleration, but we accept all religions to be true. The present convention, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, is in itself a vindication, a declaration to the world of the wonderful doctrine preached in Gita. Whosoever comes to me, through whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me. Sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed this beautiful art. They have filled the art with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilization, and sent whole nations in despair. Had it not been for those horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it is now. But their time has come, and I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword or with the pen, and of all uncharitable feelings between persons wending their way to the same goal. I am a Hindu. I am sitting in my own little well and thinking that the whole world is in my little well. The Christian sits in his well and thinks the whole world is in his well. The Mohammedan sits in their little well and thinks that this is the whole world. I have to thank you, America, for the great attempt you are making to break down the barriers of the little worlds of ours. And I hope that in the future, the Lord will help you to accomplish your purpose.
Swami Vivekananda shook not only America, but the whole world with his speech. New York Herald wrote, after hearing his speech, it seems that sending religious propagators to a country like India, highly eminent in the field of religion, is but sheer stupidity. Harriet Monroe, an editor and poet who was present at the Parliament of Religion, later wrote in her autobiography, Swami Vivekananda stole the whole show and captured the town. His personality, his voice, the fervor of his feelings, the beauty of his message to the Western world gave us a rare and perfect moment of supreme emotion. It was human eloquence at its highest pitch. Following the success in the Parliament of Religion, Swamiji continued delivering lectures on Hindu philosophy. He soon had an immense following. He traveled to various parts of the United States, including Madison, Minneapolis, Des Moines, Detroit, and Boston. In November 1894, he established the Vedanta Society in New York. Swamiji preached the gospel of the unity of religion and scattered the seeds of purity, knowledge, and faith. His message to the world was
assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace, not dissension.
During his stay in America, Swamiji touched the lives of many eminent Americans. They in turn left a lasting impression in his. He once said,
the American civilization is a very great one. I find the American mind susceptible to new ideas. Nothing is rejected because it is new. It is examined on its own merit.
He told his disciples in Calcutta, America is where the feeling of brotherhood has been developed. An American meets you for 5 minutes on board a train and you are his friend. The next moment, he invites you as a guest to his house and opens the whole home to you. After spending more than 3 years in the United States, Swamiji returned to India in January of 1897 to establish the Ram Krishna mission and to carry on the work that his master, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Dev, had bestowed on him. him.